stands for gas in a nano solid state, which means that it's a gas in solid state, which is actually really unusual. CO2, for example, doesn't exist in solid state, technically. But here it does. It's been brought down into that transition state. And kind of don't worry about why or how. It just is. Unless you want to find out why or how, in which case there's Tuesdays or there's the website. And also it's a substance which we can physically create. It's closest to our original source energy. So it's a bridge between the principal matter and the matter. That's what the GANS is. It's this transition state. So it is holding the reference point of these elements, the carbon and the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. These fields are in pure expression in the GANS state. They're crisp, they're in tune. And so our body can respond to that. Oh, and also, we've got this thing here. We're used to the solid, liquid, and gas. We've talked about what nano is. That's just the expanded state of matter. And then GANS is where these gases have come into transition state in these tubs. And then the next stage is the plasmatic fields. So these GANSes radiate the plasmatic energy fields, the subtle energy fields, which is the information they carry. Call it a plasma bubble. So it's a little sunshine, the GANS. So the free atoms at the top of that diagram, they've been freed. They're little sunshines. And they're just radiating the information that relates to the element they came from. So if it's CO2 GANS, they're radiating the frequency and information of CO2. If they're copper GANS, they're radiating that of copper. And the body uses the copper for arthritis, for other things. We'll look at the uses. Okay, we've seen this one before. So it's a charge field. An atom is a charge field. We see the physical atom shell as matter. But if we can just pop that atom into the transition state or GANS state, we're altering its pitch and it's being able to express its fields more freely. And it's those fields that we use in our bodies, in nature, in power, in anything. It manifests from a field strength that science has not recognized before. So that's what we were talking about, the new view of matter. It's going up the scale, beyond matter, into this field strength domain. And I think it's, whether it's within the electromagnetic spectrum in this three-dimensional world or the next one up, maybe it depends on the grade of GANS you're managing to make. But we don't need to worry too much about that. A lot of, they found out that insects have got all the little antennae on insects, microscopic antennae that insects have, are actually microscopic aerials, like we see on rooftops. We've made these big aerials for receiving radio frequencies. The ones on insects are teeny-weeny versions of exactly what they've come up with for our mobile phone masts and our TV aerial masts and our radio masts, because they're picking up radio frequency energies, but in the far infrared spectrums, they're teeny-weeny-weeny, and these are things we cannot see. So there's actually a heck of a lot that goes on in the EM spectrum in this 3D world that is magical still to us. It's the realm of most of this stuff, probably. The etheric fields that nature uses, the bioenergy fields, are still in this domain, I think. It's just that beyond light speed stuff is more the spiritual, the soul level, and the mind, arguably. I think, yes. So nature is amazing. And the thing is, we don't have the tools to see these energies yet, because they're too subtle, too high frequency. We can't see radio waves, can we? There's no device which will show you a photograph of radio waves, for example. And that's something we're totally used to, accepting radio waves. Just they're long wave, medium wave, they're quite long wavelengths. And a lot of this stuff is teeny-weeny wavelengths that nature uses. So it shouldn't really be mysterious. GANS, it represents the perfect note. It's got a self-organizing energy field, these little atoms that are freed from their matter state, and they carry the blueprint of that element. As I said, it's carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, whatever GANS we're making. And so for health, a balanced field is health, that's in focus. An unbalanced field is out of focus. These GANSes are like singing the perfect note again, the reference note, and bringing you back into harmony. Okay? And from these, that field is bringing balance back to the body. The body is made up of mostly carbon and oxygen, 83%. And then the other two amino acids, hydrogen and nitrogen, the other two elements that make the amino acids, hydrogen and nitrogen. So between these four, we've got practically everything, the whole spectrum that the body is actually made up of. This is why the CO2 is really the king GANS. And the zinc is also one that connects with our emotional body and our soul. That's my cat. I told you we'd show you her. So she's sitting in a little loop of GANS, which is what the tower is made of. So animals like it. They can sense when stuff is good for them. And there are lots of stories about people using these GANS waters for their pets, for healing stray dogs and bringing them back to life and love, and any skin diseases, manges, detoxing. That's a plasma water jug, simple to make. We've got one here, you can take water from it. So that's from Tesco. On the website there's a link, you can buy 20 quid from Tesco, and all you do, it's got a central core, and you just put your GANS, which you will maybe one day hopefully make, you just put the GANS in the central core, and it charges the water around it. So it's a very simple health unit. So we'll talk the health tomorrow, go more into it, but if you can drink the charged water and also use patches or cocoons, any way you can expose yourself to the fields is helpful for kind of accelerating or catalyzing rebalancing in the system. So we'll do a little printout of this. So CH3 is made from nanocopper and iron, CO2, nanocopper and zinc, CuO, nanocopper and copper. Those are the things it helps. And then we won't confuse you too much with organic GANSes, because you can basically you can reduce food, vitamins, minerals, food, seawater, we'll do that one, into its nano state. So again, you're expanding, you're digesting the physical matter of the food. And this is really cool, because it means you can actually make feeding systems. And they've been using these in Africa and Italy, where there's disasters and stuff. So you can actually just drink the charged water from the food GANS, and then you've had the meal. And that is actually a direct parallel to our digestive system. So to make the food GANS, you're just using the caustic soda. There are sheets as well you can take away. And you're adding the caustic, you're grinding up the food, whizzing it up in your NutriBullet, and then you're adding the caustic soda to it, and that will break it down. It's like a digestive process. Our digestion is alkali, acid, and alkali. So it's a strong alkali, you break it up, and then you can put hydrochloric acid in as well to break it up in a different way, and then you let it settle for about a week or 10 days, 2 weeks, as it's making soap is the same thing. It breaks up into nanomaterial, and then you rinse it with the distilled water. Don't worry about it now, but there are processes online on our site. And so that just releases the matter state of the food into its energetic information state. And in our digestion, that's all we're doing. We're breaking our food down into nanomaterials, and the salts in our body activate those, and the plasmatic fields are freed. And that's what the body uses to send around all its cells whenever it needs it. And then they will transmute back down into matter state where they're needed. It explains a heck of a lot, actually, about how people can eat just rice or something forever and be okay, because the body is actually Master Ivanov, who I love his writings, he told this to humanity, that eating is actually just a way to activate or catalyze the digestive process, and then the etheric forces of the body to get active. And it's those etheric forces which transmute the ether and everything around us into the elements that we need. So it explains why a fairly monolithic diet actually isn't necessarily a problem. So our body knows what to do with it as long as it's being stimulated. And plants do the same, which we'll talk about later. So it's very, very intriguing, the whole food GANS thing. And so you've got that handout. That was the making GANS. We've done that, the basic ones.
That's powder.
but the one at the top is natural. The one at the bottom is with power, which is another method. Sorry, is that better? The one at the bottom is power. Well, you can add power to speed it up. But let's stick with the simple one for now, perhaps. You can always ring in on a Tuesday to find out about other bits. Because, yeah, there are lots of different ways in the end. Let's do a little demo of salt GANS, seawater GANS, and I think that's it, unless you want to know why it works. Do you want to know why it works? Okay, so before the seawater, this is a little diagram of, you've got the nano copper plate and the zinc plate. It's all working with atomic mass, which is linked to the field strength of the material. So the atomic mass of zinc is 65. The atomic mass of copper normally is 64. So that's the number of neutrons and protons. Okay? When we nanocoat copper, we're actually reducing its atomic mass to 59. So by about 10%. 5%? 10%, down to about 59. So that means that it has a deficit of, between the zinc and the copper, you've got a deficit of 6. Okay, so that's a kind of, it's like a magnetism. So nature wants to fill that 6. Okay, so you've got a magnet which wants 6, and you've got the zinc which is defining that, number 6. And so so nature wants to provide 6. Now what is 6? It's carbon. Carbon is 6 protons and 6 neutrons and 6 electrons. So that is what is brought in matter state to fill that, from the gas state, to fill that vacuum. And so that carbon ends up as a nanocarbon in here, the carbon field zone. And that combines with the oxygen that's in the water naturally. Okay? And the salt is there to catalyze the process, which is what a leaf is doing. That's what photosynthesis is. A leaf has got 2 different sides with a different field strength on both sides, creating that magnet. So it's pulling the gas in from the atmosphere and making it into a GANS. It's really cool. Yeah, so that's actually basically what's happening. And you can get into many levels of detail with that, but that's the basic thing. And with copper, you're also just making a magnet between the nano copper wants to be released into copper nano. So with the copper plate itself, it's drawing the atoms finally off. They become copper with oxygen in the water. So CuO. And don't ask about CH3, that will confuse you. Well, it might not, but you probably want lunch. You can ask about CH3 in a break or on Tuesdays. So let's make a quick seawater GANS and then let you off.
Could you just explain?
Oh, yes, any questions?
Presumably, you pour the water off into a jug for your GANS.
Oh, yes, no, actually. So have we finished the GANS making? Not quite, because when you finish nanocoating the plate, you'll see it's all on the sheet. You just get 2 little probes from a voltmeter, and you drain the voltage off the plates. You don't have to for these things, really, but there is the option to. You drain the voltage off, because being a superconductor, it accumulates charge, these nanoplates, as they form. So you want to just drain that charge off, just in one direction, from one corner to the other, if you remember when you remember. It's more important for power applications, because you're defining the direction of flow in the nano layers, so the current knows where to flow. For health, it's not so important, but it's good to get into the habit. And then you wash them very thoroughly, ideally in clean water, distilled water, but if you have to do it in the tap, with a bit of warm tap water, just quickly rinse off any caustic soda residue. You won't know if you have, but a few times. But don't rub it, because it's very sensitive, the nanomaterials. The nano layers are quite fragile, so just be careful with them. So rinse it off, and then you're ready to go. That's when we're hanging them in there. And you'll wait a week, or maybe 2, maybe a week, and you'll start to see the little white residues forming in the bottom. And you can leave it going, and when you've got a centimetre or so, you can drain the head of water off, leaving the GANS behind, and then you rinse it, so fill it up again, take the plates out, it's all on the sheet, fill it up again with distilled water, rinse it, let it settle, pour it off, fill it up again, 3 or 4 times. It gets the salt out, basically. That's all it's getting out with this. With food, you're getting the caustic out as well. This, the salt. And then you're ready to go. Alex. Yeah. Well, Mr. Kesh is now saying once you've made the nano coating, it carries on forever. I'm not so sure. I use fresh ones each time. You can experiment with that. If it's still producing, then I guess it's still working. And so store them, just wash them as well and keep them between some paper towels. Yeah. Yeah, distilled is perfect. Demineralized is the other one, which is battery water. Yeah, any water. For making the salt water, it's always distilled or demineralized. Any water involved should be the pure stuff, apart from rinse. No, only from, well, I do rinse in tap water, even London tap water, but with a prayer that that's fine. Because actually once you're putting it into your, anything you're doing, it's getting in touch with tap water. Yeah, the purists would never go near tap water. But I'm a little more, intention is 95% of the thing. And so just give it a final rinse in clean water perhaps, and then you're ready to make the nano. But the nano process is so strong, I think it just overcomes the rest.
And the benefit people, I've got a distilled downstairs, I'll bring it up and just show that they can make distilled water.
Yeah, you can buy distilled water machines, yeah, you can bring yours up to show. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions?
I understand how you make the nano coating, but how do you make the GANS when you've got the plates?
Yeah, so once they're hanging, so how do you make the GANS with the plates? Once you've set them up hanging in the tub, you've got your saltwater solution, you just leave it.
And how long for?
You'll see maybe a week, maybe a few days. It varies, as Jonathan said, different rooms in the house. They're great at different speeds.
Does it look like when it's ready?
So it looks like, it'll look like a white jelly thing at the bottom.
That is ready to use.
Yeah, that's ready to use. That's cleaned up.
And that's the CO2 gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can put that into your the jug, the centre of the jug.
Yes. Put it in the centre of the jug, or we'll make little test tubes of it tomorrow.